We're all going to die.
There's no way of getting out of it.
But take a step back.
As they say, use your time wisely.
Now, I'm not going to divulge too much into this. When it comes down to it,
The key is living in the moment.
Hi, y'all. My name is Japhy, and I am an adrenaline junkie. Whenever I have the chance, my life and my mind are occupied by this. In fact, although I started green school in the original class of 2008 and have hippie, recycling, activist parents, I'm not exactly a granola type of kid. I like electronic music shows, video games, and my car, Sheila. I just spent the last 2 years traveling with world-class kayak academies, paddling some of the most isolated river canyons in the world, and pushing myself to run bigger and harder waterfalls. When I graduate from green school, I'm headed straight to the west coast of North America to chase whitewater. So when I was deciding on what my GreenStone thesis was going to be, it seemed like a foregone conclusion that I was going to pick up my life's greatest passion as my topic. But a few days before the topics were due, kind of to a shock to the people who knew me, I decided to experiment with this. The concept of trying to grow enough food to feed myself in a small urban garden here in Bali. So why this bizarre switch to a topic that I'd never shown any interest in before? There are several reasons why, including the novelty of exploring a new idea and the shock value it had to my friends and family. This is what I come down to. Me and all my fellow grade 12s are about to go out into this world. We've been really lucky to be raised in Bali, and I for one have been incredibly spoiled in many aspects of my life, especially and including food. Food in Bali is cheap, it's plentiful. Other people cook it for you, and in my house, they even clean it up for you. While I was traveling with my kayak school, the way I looked at food kind of changed. I had to actually cook on a regular basis, which gave me more of a connection to what I ate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Also, as I became more athletic, I started to analyze what type of food I ate and how the quality of it affected my performance on the water. I realized that to go out into the world, I wanted a better understanding of this most basic human need, food. So after I decided on creating a home garden, I had to ask myself a few questions. What should I grow? What produces the most yield? How can I produce balanced meals on an ongoing basis? I'm definitely not a health freak, but I do understand my body's needs and try my best to give it what it wants. I personally need to eat lots of carbs and protein to stay fit and healthy. I'd have to incorporate all these considerations and more into what I wanted to eventually grow. In theory and in practice, I wanted it to fully sustain me. Commercial farms need a lot of land, but if you're just growing for yourself, there's a lot of ways to make the most out of your area. My space was this yard. I did some research into the most efficient systems to use. There are many innovative ideas out there on how to grow food in limited spaces, and I had a lot of ideas going through my head. Some were more feasible than others. This is when I got help. I'd never really started a garden before. I had no seeds, no experience, and no idea really where to start, so I called EAT-up, an amazing Bali-based organization that is dedicated to teaching people how to help themselves. They give lessons to local people on home gardening and permaculture theory, and they do humanitarian relief in disaster areas by giving them the tools and training to grow their own food and grow their own hope. They also help boolies like me create gardens at home. The folks from EAT-up sat me down and they helped me make a plan for my yard. Then they helped me make that plan into a reality. Afterwards, I was left with a beautifully planted garden, but I still had a lot of remaining questions on how to get my yard to produce enough food for me to live off of. The next step I took was to create a chicken coop so I could get fresh eggs every day. I ordered 6 half-grown hens and started construction. Using cheap wood and my own design, my feathered friends now had a pretty funky home. But it worked, and I continued to make adjustments on it throughout my entire project, and ended up looking pretty nice. Now my chickens are very happy. They have space to run around in, and they produce 5 to 6 eggs every day. Out of everything, they've been the most productive part of my project. Having chickens around has also been a lot of fun. They've They have stronger personalities than you think, and they've definitely grown on me. At this point, my garden required constant work, and I needed to give it daily attention to make sure that my plants and animals were happy, which was a little bit difficult being a high school senior. There are many unforeseen issues that are making things difficult also. I had to experiment with different plants that grew well in Bali. I looked for local strains that grew fast enough for me to grow to live off of. I also learned that I had to actually plan out when to plant in order to have a continuous yield. I made a lot of mistakes. I felt surprisingly emotional when my plants were attacked by bugs, mold, and even my own chickens. I tried aquaculture with somewhat disastrous results, especially for the fish. When limited sunlight on my first bed stunted the growth of my garden, I had to make 3 new beds on the sunnier side of my house. I built experimental standing beds out of bamboo to try to maximize sun and space. But it was all worth the effort. When you're stressed out about graduation, talking in front of 200 people, and having to fend for yourself in the world, getting down and dirty is sometimes very relaxing. While I was learning, I was lucky to have this man, Hartono of Har's Garden. Just up the street from me was an experienced organic gardener and entrepreneur. He taught me his minimalist organic system that doesn't require fancy compost or pest controls. I took the Green School permaculture class, and I paid attention to the gardens here for the very first time. I earned a permaculture design certificate from visiting instructor Kathleen Steele. I was also inspired by Sorry Organic and its co-founder, Oded Karmi, who's the Green School teacher here and just up here. Although I've played in the garden since I was a kid, I now have a new appreciation for what he did. Sorry Organic started as a household garden, but Oded realized there was demand for fresh organic produce and he turned it into a money-making business. So why are all these people into this cool stuff? Is it just a hobby for them? Are they just hippies? Do they want free food? In this era of beautiful supermarkets overflowing with glossy packaged merchandise, why grow your own? After my experience, I believe it is much more than this. It's an environmental and a social movement. It's activism in action, and it does make a difference. Even though big supermarkets and fast food restaurants may fool you, local food production is an issue. Human population is rising at a frightening rate. We are cutting down rainforests and replacing them with cattle to meet demand for cheap meat and genetically modified soy and palm plantation. Agribusiness is one of the most environmentally devastating industries on our planet. It accounts for over 80% of all deforestation and over 50% of all CO2 emissions. That's a lot. And here is a dangerous path we are headed down. More people causes more demand for food, which causes more deforestation and emissions, which causes more climate change, which causes more natural disasters and droughts, which make it even harder to feed all those people, which creates a panicking, hungry population of the world with nothing left to lose. In short, we're headed towards the apocalypse. And if this happens, I'm going to be growing my own. If we don't want to create this reality, though, we're going to need to take back our means of food production. Start growing more sustainably. That means growing smarter, smaller, more local, and more personal. We're going to need some self-determination for global preservation. And it doesn't have to limit our quality of life. It can be rewarding, as my project was for me. There are incredible benefits to growing your own food. You eat healthier, you save money, you can make money, you don't ruin the environment or support industries that only care about short-term corporate profits. You can make a difference, and you can help a movement happen. And I can't even place the value and feeling of picking, preparing, and eating food that you yourself have planned, planted, and cared for. You taste the effort that you put into it, and it tastes a lot like freedom. You may ask, did I ever end up becoming completely self-sufficient with my garden? My answer would be no. I had a steep learning curve. I got close though, and I did plant a big idea in my backyard. And I also planted a new skill and a new passion in myself. And I know that if it's watered and cared for, it will grow into a lifetime of something very valuable. I'm now aware of the need to start thinking local when it comes to food. Even if I can't always go it myself, I will continue to support local movement wherever I can. By supporting the movement, you make healthy organic food available to everyone. Because if homegrown organic food was being produced in every backyard, every rooftop, every wall, it would be cheap as dirt, literally. I want you to meet this man. His name's Ron Finley. He grew up in South Central LA, in one of the toughest neighborhoods in the United States. It's an urban food desert there, with virtually no healthy food available nearby, which might be hard for some of you guys to think about. As Ron puts it, South Central is a place where drive-thrus kill more people than drive-bys. He grew his own, so what he did is he grew his own, illegally, on an empty lot in front of his house. So people liked his idea, so he showed them how to garden. Suddenly, he was solving the biggest issues of poverty, violence, unhealthy eating, and helplessness in a community that's been plagued with all that for generations. His little act made a huge difference. There are so many projects like Ron's out there. In slums, suburban neighborhoods, major cities, disaster zones, people are taking their food source into their own hands. So can you. It just takes people like you to go out there and start planting some seeds. The liberating idea of sustaining yourself is limitless. So spread the word like I am today. Join the movement and think about this. If a self-centered 17-year-old can put his mind to what needs to be done, so can you. And before I go, I want each of you to have a present. I grew these lettuce starts for you that were passed around. Hold this tiny lettuce plant in your hands. This plant represents better health. It represents a more responsible way of eating. Most importantly to me, it represents freedom and self-determination to whoever plants it. Think about your yard, your house, your bedroom. Think about what this plant will become with a little water and sunlight. Could it make one night salad? Could you fit it in with all those orchids and ornamentals in your house? Could you plant a few seeds each day in the pot that you emptied the night before? Water them, put them in the sun. Do this as a practice, as a meditation on earning your way on this planet. I don't know what you just answered for yourself. Honestly, until a few months ago, my answer would have been both sarcastic and negative to that. But something has changed for me during the course of this project. And I hope something, even if it's as small as a lettuce seed, has changed for you while watching my presentation. Thank you.